hurricane hunters and find out what it's like to fly into the eye of the storm.
Should be 12 inches tall or better, and it's, mowed at the end of May, and it's just brown.
Farmers in West Virginia say it's the worst drought they've seen in 25 years. We'll find out what they're doing to try to save their crops. And it doesn't matter if you call them fireflies or lightning bugs, their populations are in decline, and it has to do with the weather.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Emma Withrow. It's been relatively calm in the tropics recently, but there are three systems that we're keeping our eye on this morning. Meteorologist Brian Vandegraff is with us tracking those systems to see what kind of development we can expect. Brian, how's it looking?
Well, honestly, as of late, we're heading right towards the peak of Atlantic hurricane season, and the tropics have been rather calm. There are three waves, one just off the coast of Africa, one about 800 miles east of the Lesser Antilles, and a third in the Caribbean Sea. As we get a little bit closer, this one that's furthest away right now, 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. The one that's about 800 miles east of the Antilles, about 10% chance. But you get a little bit closer towards the Yucatan Peninsula. This system here, about 30% chance of development right now, bringing some winds and some rain to Jamaica before heading over towards the Yucatan Peninsula. Right now, it does not look likely that these will become named storms, but if they were to get a name, we've already gone up through the E name, so the next one would be Francine. We'll continue to watch it and bring you updates as we continue to get updates from the National Hurricane Center.
Thanks, Brian. Lots of much needed rain fell over parts of Texas over the past few days. The showers were speckled with downpours that caused some roads to flood. The Abilene area picked up between 2 and 3 inches of rain. In parts of the San Angelo area, the totals were higher. Some areas saw almost 5 inches of rain. One driver in San Antonio actually used his cell phone to document how his SUV was submerged in a flash flood. Tuesday morning, his SUV started to float and the current spun it into another stalled vehicle. A San Antonio firefighter luckily was able to tether to a rope and managed to drag him to safety. After a few hours, the water receded and all that was left was debris scattered across the roadways there. And summer might be winding down, but more than 62 million Americans are under heat alerts today. Areas all along the West Coast are going to be impacted from Washington State through Southern California, and even portions of Arizona and New Mexico could see triple digits today. As Amy Kiley reports, the heat could be around for the next few days.
It really does help.
Tens of millions of Americans are under heat alerts today as the Southwest faces record-setting temperatures.
I got here and I started burning and melting away. I was about 50 more pounds when I first got here, but now I'm a little bit lighter.
A heat wave settling in there is no joke, and it's set to stick around for days.
Coming here earlier, and then for the rest of the day, staying home where it's air conditioned.
Utility companies say the LA and San Diego power grids are holding up, but they want people to reduce energy use between 4 and 9 p.m.
Crews are prepared to quickly respond to power outages in all weather conditions.
Phoenix is on a record-setting hot streak, marking 100 consecutive days above 100 degrees yesterday. Forecasters say Phoenix could set another record this week with its 55th day above 110 this year. But Labor Day can keep its title as the unofficial end of summer. Parts of the eastern U.S. are cooler than usual for this time of year.
When it's hot, we sweat, and sweating sometimes feels uncomfortable, but it's necessary to keep us cool in these extreme heat conditions. Meteorologist Teresa Carter explains why we sweat.
A person's internal body temperature generally hangs around 98 degrees, give or take. But if your body gets too hot, like on hot, muggy days, you sweat. Sweating is the body's natural way of cooling down when it gets too hot. When the temperatures rise, the body's sweat glands produce sweat, which moistens the skin and evaporates, drawing heat away from the body. This process is called evaporating cooling. It in turn cools your skin. This process helps keep your body temperature at a comfortable 98.6 degrees. Now, on really humid days, sweat fails to evaporate evaporate from your skin, which in turn keeps you warmer and feeling sticky. If you didn't sweat, your body could overheat and you could have a heat stroke. Now, heat strokes occur when sweat can't evaporate fast enough to cool the body. That is why on hot, muggy days, it is very important to stay hydrated and stay cool.
Well, the bear fire is raging out of control. It's forced hundreds of people to evacuate in Sierra County, California. The fire scorched more than 2,000 acres since it started Labor Day afternoon. It's 0% contained. Firefighters worked on the fire from all sides, including heavy attacks from the air, using helicopters and planes. Residents who didn't evacuate said they feel better keeping an eye on their property as they watch firefighters battle the blaze.
I'm seeing lots of airplane traffic attending to it. The terrain's hard to get to, and they've got a variety of things, big jets, double helicopters, what do they call them, Hueys? Lots of traffic.
You said you're pretty pleased with the air attack.
Yeah, I just wish I had power and water.
The Sierra County Sheriff's Office has issued a mandatory water restriction notice for the Sierra Brooks area. Outdoor watering is suspended until further notice, and they're urging residents to conserve indoor water as much as possible. Now to West Virginia, where drought is a major issue. Farmers and ranchers in the state say it's the worst they've seen in 25 years. Daniel Burbank has more on this.
At Grassy Run Farms, millions of soybeans are at stake.
If we can get another shot of rain on them.
The recent rains helped, though it depends which side of the road you're on in Mason County.
Everybody's got pride to have the best looking crop field or the best looking herd of cows.
20-year-old Mason is heading for his junior year at the University of Kentucky, studying how to get the most out of crops.
It just doesn't come to Walmart, and where they just buy it off of there.
Even during droughts.
Nobody has said a whole lot, really. When things get bad, everybody kind of keeps the bad to themselves.
Roane County ranchers have an outlet to discuss their concerns.
I grew up in the 4-H program.
Extension agent Brandy Brabham.
When we have situations like this, it makes farmers be better managers because they have to be.
Brabham is one of more than 50 agriculture experts in the state. She says this is one of the longest dry summers she can remember.
I've heard many farmers helping each other. If they've got extra hay, they definitely put it up for sale early and or tell the neighbors, hey, I've got this if you want to come down and cut it.
Only time will tell when the land heals itself.
The discovery of a new plant in Iowa quickly went from excitement to concern as conservation officials realized the plant might be a harmful invasive species. Meteorologist Grayson Freud has more.
Kristen Morrow was walking through the prairie at Kent Park when she noticed something she hadn't seen before.
When I was hiking, I noticed a species that was a little bit different, and I hadn't seen it in the last 9 years that I had worked here, and so I keyed it out and discovered that it was a species that we hadn't had in the park before.
Records show the downy sunflower is native to 2 counties in Iowa, but as it turns out, the historical records aren't accurate, and this plant is actually an invasive species. Invasive species are spread primarily by humans, but in this case, they believe the flower seeds may have been mixed in with bird seed that was spread in the prairie.
Now, because this is a very aggressive plant and we have a beautiful ecosystem here already, we're going to go in there and remove this. We'll actually cut the stem, and then we'll use a small dauber to place a small amount of chemical on there that hopefully will help control this.
As a rhizome, the downy sunflower plant has creeping root stalks that can spread in all directions, spawning new shoots with new plants popping up all over.
So it will require us to come back and continually check this site to make sure that at least we're keeping this plant in check, if not eradicating it.
And if you're looking for some more weather content, be sure to check us out on social media. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan that QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll join a group of hurricane hunters and find out what it's like flying into the eye of the storm. And we'll look at how a changing climate is impacting firefly populations across the U.S.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We have a beautiful stretch of weather on the way in the Northeast. We have unlimited sunshine on the way again for today with temps in the upper 70s and low 80s. We have low humidity. This is about as good as it gets for early September. After a cool start, notice these temperatures warming up to seasonably mild levels with a lot of sun. There's a storm that's going to pass off to our east going into the late week time frame, but Thursday looks to be another delightful day with a lot of sun and highs in the 70s.
I'm meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We're in for a gorgeous day, starting with plenty of sunshine. Into the afternoon, still mostly sunny across the region with nice and comfortable temperatures as we enjoy a stretch of fall-like days. We'll start to have more clouds move into the region on Thursday. The next weather maker will follow on Friday. High temperatures will range from the 60s through the low 80s. Then into the night, temperatures will drop to the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here is a look at your highs for this afternoon. We are going to be in the 80s for the most part, upper and mid 80s the further north you get. Up in Asheville, we'll be in the mid 70s, starting to look like fall up there, and then the upper 70s in Raleigh. Over the coming day, we are going to see isolated showers and storms along the coastline. The areas that will see the highest amounts of rainfall are going to be along the Gulf coastline, so Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and southern Alabama, as a result of that area of low pressure off the coast.
The National Weather Desk.
Tracking hurricanes has come a long way. Thanks to technology, we're able to get an up-close look at them. Now hurricane hunters are a big part of gathering the information to keep people safe. So meteorologist Sonia Stevens has more on this.
While most people are trying to steer clear of the storm, hurricane hunters are flying right into it.
It's almost like sitting in a car wash for a few hours. You oftentimes can't see anything because it's just clouds and heavy rain, sometimes hail that's beating on the windows. And the airplane's shaking, kind of like when the brushes are hitting the side of your car in the car wash.
And while they are going through the car wash like weather,
we rely upon radar to give that picture of where we're going and how to safely get through the storm until we then get into the eye. That's when the weather officer in the back is using their instrumentation to find the exact center of circulation.
Those planes collect critical data.
You know, we can look at a satellite image and estimate how strong a storm is, but until you get an aircraft in there that can directly measure the winds and the pressure, and you can send it right to the hurricane. That's the real benefit of these platforms, is they can go right to where we want them to go, sample how big the storm is. The P3 here, we're standing right under it, has a tail Doppler radar on the back of it that can measure the wind field structure, the precipitation structure.
That data collected is sent back in real time to the National Hurricane Center in Miami.
All that data, the flight level data, the Doppler radar data, the dropsondes that the aircraft deploy, all go into the global models, the hurricane models, and they make their forecast of hurricane track and intensity 10 to 20% better.
That accuracy is key to keeping people safe.
You've got to get the track right, you got to get the intensity, the structure right, to get those hazards right and to warn people, what they need to be ready for.
Their next challenge is to get that information into the right hands.
If we make a perfect forecast but people don't act on it, then we're not finishing the job. We want to make the forecast as accurate as we can, but we're in an era where the communication aspect is more important than ever.
So water is one of Michigan's greatest resources, but the state also contains many smaller inland lakes. Meteorologist Trevor Robideau explains the work of the state's Department of Natural Resources that they do to survey those inland lakes and also the concerns that they have for their uncertain future.
The Michigan DNR spends a lot of time on the water with the task of surveying the health and usability of our over-inland lakes and streams. DNR Lake Fisheries Coordinator Jim Francis says their work narrows down into 3 categories: management action, evaluating status and trends, and increasing fishing opportunities.
There's a lot of things that affect the quality of a fishery in individual lakes. And so we want to track that over time and make sure that we're not seeing a decline in the fishery.
But this is no easy task.
We've got 11,000 lakes in the state of Michigan, right? So it's a huge number of lakes. We can't obviously get to all of our lakes and streams with our staff.
So the DNR conducts status trends at sites on 3-year rotations to estimate fish population and health.
We do 3 years of survey, and then we take 3 years off. So it's on a 3-year on and off cycle. And that allows us to track a subset of our populations over a longer period and with more more intensity, so we can detect changes over time.
However, the DNR is concerned climate change will have an effect on fisheries all around the state. Warming water temperatures, especially on inland bodies of water, can prove very harmful for Michigan's cold water fish like lake trout and carp.
We're targeting specifically with our status and trend survey, we're targeting trout and smallmouth bass populations. So those are species that could be sensitive to changes in temperature over time.
Francis says even recent changes like increased rainfall is also changing the quality of streams and lakes, leaving the future of fisheries uncertain and the difficulties of managing them more difficult.
I mean, if you look at the intensity and frequency of rain events, it's really increasing, and that has important implications for our streams as far as habitat.
The climate is changing, and it's having impacts across the globe. In South Carolina, those changes are impacting the state's firefly population. As temperatures increase and rainfall decreases, the number of fireflies in the state is shrinking. Clara Faith has more on this.
Some call them lightning bugs or fireflies, but most don't know they aren't a bug or a fly.
They are beetles. They are carnivores. So in the larval stage, they eat slugs and snails and worms.
Experts like biology professor Sarah Lower say fireflies have short lives and they spend most of their lives in the larval state. But when they grow up to be adults, that's when the light show starts.
As adults, they're looking for mates. So the flashes that you think about when you think fireflies are how they find each other.
With their beauty and entertainment, these fireflies need moisture to live.
So fireflies we think of as being really closely linked with moisture. They typically, you can find them in areas that are sort of near streams.
Although the insects are resilient, scientists have one concern.
During periods of drought, the firefly populations really go down.
There are more than 2,000 species of fireflies, and Laura says 14% of them are becoming endangered in certain regions.
Like one summer, it didn't rain for like the whole month of August. And so fireflies were gone and didn't show up again until the following year. We do think that they can, if conditions aren't favorable, that they can delay pupation and become an adult later.
But she says you can help scientists like her by keeping record of when and where you see the insects light up.
We get a lot of questions here at the National Weather Desk, so we're bringing you guys a new segment from meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael, where he reads those questions from viewers on Facebook and answers them. So let's take a look.
So I want to start this new segment called Weather Bucket Questions. And I asked you on my Facebook page, do you have any weather-related questions? And sure enough, I got a lot of them. I printed all of the questions off. I've got a bucket, so we're going to call this the Weather Bucket. And I'm going to answer some of your questions. So let's see which one we're going to answer first. Here we go. All right. Kim asks, why does rain and snow skip over Columbus, yet areas all around us get it? I have heard this from dozens of people. So basically, Kim's saying, if you live in one spot, the rain's coming right towards you, all of a sudden the rain takes a different course and goes around you, and you don't get nearly as much rain. I've never heard from someone as the beneficiary, though, where they get more rain than Columbus, where you basically have a hole in the middle. However, let's take a look at the last 3 years here. There are no holes over Columbus when you take a look at the big picture year after year. How about the 3 years before that? Again, no hole over Columbus where they're seeing less rain than before. And we'll go back even 3 years before that. Again, no hole over Columbus. Sometimes it may just feel like you may be missing out on the rain, but eventually it all evens out and everyone will get about the same amount of rain once you take a look at the big picture. So if you've got any weather questions, let me know and I'll add it to the weather bucket.
And now it's time for a short break, but first we're going to take some views of the Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. Just gorgeous out there right now.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We have some rain that's going to slowly be moving its way across the plains over the next few days with a cold front. Out ahead of it, temperatures have been warming up over the last several days, but behind that, it's going to get a little cooler. So you can see some 80s there in the Dakotas, and then it cools down into the 70s for the next few days behind that rain. And that rain, again, continue to push its way closer to the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley as we head into the end of the week, with high temperatures in the 70s behind that rain.
Hi, meteorologist Chris Suchet. Look at our forecast today across the region, starting off with pockets of a little rain, lightning and thunder, especially down in South Texas along the Gulf Coast. And through the day, highs 70s and 80s. Also humid, and that will support showers and thunderstorms scattered across the region. And then Thursday's forecast, starting off with morning lows 60s and 70s. Afternoon high, really not that bad. And again, you see that chance from Dallas, Austin to the Gulf Coast, Houston area for showers or a thunderstorm.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, the big story is certainly the heat. We're seeing temps in the triple digits in Phoenix and Vegas, which has been the case for the better part of the last 3 to 4 months. But this heat is going to extend all the way through Reno and into Portland today, the Rose City up into the mid-90s there in the Willamette Valley. Thunderstorms still brewing over the Four Corners region, but again, it's the excessive heat from California into Oregon that's the top story today. And that's the scene from here.
Do the number of foggy days in August dictate how many snow days the winter is going to bring? Well, meteorologist Dave Dirks explains a bit of some weather lore.
Dense fog can make a travel nightmare for a slow go on the roads, for sure, but it can also be beautiful. Check out these viewer pics from this summer. Here, the sun is rising over Burgonsville, Tennessee, as the morning fog slowly fades away. And this gorgeous shot shows fog shrouding the valley floor in Washington County, Tennessee. Now, the southern Appalachians is situated in one of the more fog-prone regions of the country. Local climatology tells us that the Tri-Cities can expect more than 35 foggy days with visibility dropping to around a quarter mile or less. And according to weather lore, well, some of you may know, the number of August fogs signals how many snows we'll have this winter. So far this August at the Tri-Cities Airport, there have been 18 days of at least a light fog with 3 days of dense fog. You do the math. If 18 days pans out, we better start looking for those shovels and snow boots. If we just count the 3 dense fogs, maybe not so much snow.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. I'm Emma Withrow. Make it a great Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.